Inner Quest explores various pathways through which you can connect with the infinite wisdom of the universe and apply it to personal, professional, and spiritual growth. This program, featuring accomplished practitioners, educators, and authors, is provided by Infinity Foundation, an innovative center for holistic studies and research. We invite you to share this journey with us.
Welcome to Inner Quest. My name is Jay Stone, your host for today, and our guests are Paula Rosenfeld. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Savita, Laura, Jachim. Did I pronounce both names correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Well, Paula and Laura are two devoted healers, teachers, and messengers. In 2014, they traveled to India together to Oneness University to become certified Oneness trainers. Since then, they've been teaching a course called the Oneness Awakening course and hold a Oneness Blessing Circle in Glenview. Well, can you tell our audience a little bit like the training that you had at Oneness University? You're looking at each other like, who wants to handle this?
Sure. There is a trainer's course at Oneness University, which is in South India by Chennai, and we went there and went through a very in-depth training and experience of what we're teaching.
Were you busy from like 6 in the morning till?
Yes.
Till late, very late.
Many hours of the evening, and it was all the processes that we teach in the course. We went through ourselves with the dasas. The monks taught the courses, and it was very intense. And it's an immersion program.
Are there people from all over the world?
All over the world. We had, I don't know how many different countries, but there are, at least, I don't know. In our course, there are probably 8 different countries. There were German, there was Chinese, there was
South American,
the Netherlands.
Well, it just shows how the Oneness training, Oneness Awakening is universal.
It is universal. It's actually spreading throughout the whole world. I mean, it's in 122 different countries throughout the world.
And is there much focus on meditation in the training?
Yes, very, very much so. And yoga is represented as well, but it's mainly an experience of meditation.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And who wants to define or explain what Oneness Awakening is?
Paula?
Sure. Well, awakening itself is a happening. It's a blessing that is given to one, and many people all over the world are awakening now, and many teachers are talking about it. It is an actual neurobiological shift in the brain that activates the parietal lobes on the sides of the brain and activates the frontal lobe, which is the part of the brain that is responsible for your perception of the unity of all things. So awakening is actually a neurobiological shift in the brain and creates a change in inner perspective.
And so how does one know whether he or she has become awakened?
That's a great question. For some people, it's a very dramatic shift, and it's very obvious because, things start feeling very different. For others, it's a gradual experience, but the end result is you become very much connected to your essence. The flow of your life is such that everything you need begins to come to you. The right people show up. You're very much more in touch with your emotions and really can't run from them.
Please go ahead.
One other piece that's pretty important in my opinion is that the mind starts to quiet down. When awakening starts to happen, the mind chatter starts to dissolve. And actually the I starts to dissolve, and that sense of oneness begins to happen. That's really important.
And so once you go through the oneness training, do you have to radically change your life?
No. Life changes. I mean, it changes automatically. As Paul said, things happen automatically. So you don't have to do anything. Things just start to happen. If you want to change, that's great, and there may be less resistance to change. When the brain starts to make those shifts, the new neural pathways are created, change is just easier. It just becomes easier.
Now, I know I've interviewed neuropsychiatrist Daniel Amen. He's a best-selling author of Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. Mm-hmm. And he took brain specs of people who were meditating at least 25 years. And what showed up in his brain scans were a focal point in the right temporal lobes that the doctors immediately dubbed the God spot. And so you're saying it's the frontal cortex or parietal lobes?
Well, the parietal or...
The parietal lobes are...
Yeah.
It quiets the parietal lobes. So the parietals are where the fight or flight kind of activates.
Okay.
And the frontal brain is where creativity, where your desires are really start to manifest, the frontal part of your brain. And so it's the God spot, but what it is really that place where you start to connect into the truth, the truth of who you are and what you are. And it actually helps us to drop down into the heart as well. Mm-hmm. So when we're not coming from that fight or flight place anymore, we're dropping more into the center of our heart, and that's where actually everything really happens.
Well, you're both mature, I mean that in a nice way.
Thank you.
And you've been pursuing a path long before you went to Oneness University. I've known Laura or Savita for 20 years. Mm-hmm. What about children? Are there children learning this method?
Yeah, children, animals. It's nothing you have to learn. It's a happening.
Okay.
It's given to you, and it's happening all over the globe.
And I have to say, at Oneness University, when Paul and I were there in our training, there were many people brought their children. And children were having experiences, like they couldn't help it. They weren't in the training, but they were in the training. So, and in some of our Diksha circles, there are young children that have taken the training and have become blessing givers. So I don't know the youngest, I don't know, but I do know that there's tweens and probably younger than that.
Well, I sure wish I had something like this when I was going through adolescence.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the oneness blessing is considered a shortcut. So people like us who've been on that path for so long really appreciate how someone who is really just starting on a spiritual path can receive the Diksha or oneness blessings, either name works for it, and really go through an intense process.
Okay.
And by the way, at Oneness University, they do have programs for children. Mm-hmm. So these principles and this way of living actually they can start at a very young age, and it's just what they know.
I think it would help the development of the brains and the body to develop healthy and well and put a young child on a good life path.
Yeah, self-confidence.
Absolutely.
Know how to deal with life.
So is Oneness Awakening a religion?
No, it's not a religion. You don't have to believe in God. You don't have to have a religion. Whatever your beliefs are, the Oneness Diksha actually magnifies and amplifies whatever your beliefs are. So it's a phenomenon. It's not something that you have to learn. It's not you don't have to take on any ideologies. It's simply just a presence.
Yeah.
It's accessing the presence.
Okay. And is Oneness Diksha like Reiki?
I'll answer that. It is and it isn't. It is because it's a transference of divine energy, and so is Reiki. But it's not, because the purpose of the Diksha or the Oneness blessing is to awaken the brain, is to awaken consciousness, not the brain, but to awaken consciousness. And then there are the byproducts of healing and better relationships and all the other things like Reiki, but the main purpose is to awaken consciousness.
Well, I know you're a massage therapist, and been one for many years, and so could you incorporate this in your practice?
Yeah, it flows through.
Now,
Definitely.
before the show, you did a blessing for me. Would you like to try it on air? And
Sure.
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Do you want to talk while you're
Paul,
doing
you
it?
want to explain what I'm doing while I'm doing it?
Sure.
Okay.
Good idea.
Okay, good.
So she is first connecting with what is sacred to her, and that's going to be different for each Diksha giver. But her job is really to be a channel for this energy to flow through her hands to your higher self, and or whatever you might consider that, whatever is sacred to you, Jay.
Okay. Now, is it usually done to the head, or could it be done to other parts of the body?
It's usually done to the head, but it's also communicated via intention. So I could be sitting here in this chair and sending you a Diksha. Some people are able to communicate a certain type of Diksha through their eyes as well. But the hands-on experience feels a little different than the other ones. They're all a little different in the way they feel.
Well, before the show, I said to Savita how I felt the energy and the warmth of her hands. And what was your answer when I said that? You had a wonderful answer.
My answer was, it's divine energy coming through me. It's not me. It's actually your divine just being channeled. So it is not me. The Diksha giver actually stands in like a channel and just steps out of the way.
So is this a way, Oneness Awakening, we can connect with the divine in each of us
Yes.
together? And so I could see why it could lead to very peaceful and pleasant relationships.
Yeah, and you don't even need to have a concept of a divine. Many people think of it as the universe or source, maybe some, it could be an ascended master or an avatar, but there's no rules, no dogma about this. Whatever is sacred and divine or not divine to you. It's something greater than yourself, let's put it that way.
I wanted, did you want to add something, Laura?
No, I
Or
just
Savita?
wanted to say, it's okay, either one's fine. I just wanted to say that when you start, whatever it is, you start cultivating a deeper connection to whatever that is. And if you don't know what that is, it will reveal itself to you. So if you don't have a belief in anything, something may show up, whether it's Jesus or Buddha or Mary or a cat or light.
Or you can go back to your original religion.
Or you can go back, yes, absolutely.
So, Paula, you wrote this book called The Oneness Blessing, How Diksha Can Help You Become Your Authentic Self, heal your relationships, and transform the world. What are some of the key points of this book?
Well, in the book, I quote from about 19 or 20 other oneness trainers like Savita and myself who have gone through the experience of awakening. And each person contributed an aspect of the way awakening has affected their life. So what you find in that book is kind of a roadmap for the experience of awakening as it manifests in so many different ways in our lives.
I would also think you'd find inspiration.
Yes.
Or affirmation that you're on the right path if you were started this.
I think so. It'll help people who maybe have a sense that something is going on for them, but they're not sure what it is and why things seem different now.
So what are the, yeah, go
Let me
ahead.
just plug the book for a minute because
Okay.
that book gives Diksha. I mean, when people read it, their brain starts
true.
to change. Many people have talked about reading the book and just having a deeper sense of knowing who they are, actually connecting to their higher self. So even reading the book, you can receive Diksha.
Good. And do you believe you received Diksha while you were writing it? Or?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the book kind of came through me. Absolutely. It fell into place perfectly, to be honest, because including the opportunity to write the book, because this publisher was looking for an author to write a book about the Oneness blessing. So it came to me. I wasn't looking for it, and we say that oneness comes to you, even if you're not consciously looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This is what we mean by the flow. It's pretty extraordinary.
Okay. And so what are the effects of taking Diksha?
Well, first there's this change in perspective, and that manifests in many ways. Your relationships are set right. Your health, your prosperity and abundance in the world. What else?
I would say every area of your life is affected by.
I would. It's like
meditation. And it's we're whole, so you can't. Nothing is really separate, and when you become more whole, there's no separation. So whether it's wealth, health, relationships, career, everything just starts to
I can see
get better.
Somebody changing their diet without even making a conscious effort to it, or finding a healthier career.
And sometimes when there's effort, you might realize that there's some resistance there. So you just look, when things are hard, it's usually not right.
So you're teaching a class at Infinity, and is it like a 1-day class, 2-day class?
It's a 2-day class.
And what goes on in this 2 days class?
It's very experiential. So there's a lot of meditation. There is teaching, the oneness teachings, which are very universal teachings, culled and found in many different spiritual traditions. But it's also about energy. So there's nothing that people, I think, would become resistant to in the class themselves, but they will experience what is true for themselves, and that's the opportunity we hold for people in this class.
So it's a learning, and it becomes a knowing and an experience. And it also, there's a lot of healing that happens, and it just happens. I mean, with the processes that we put people through, we're healing relationships, we're healing your childhood wounds that you may not even be aware of. And
are there any examples you can give me from previous workshops or classes you've taught?
Examples of
people being transformed.
Oh, well, I could talk about myself.
Oh,
I mean, I've taken this course several times, and once in India too. But I've had major shifts in my relationships with my father and my brothers especially. I've always had a struggle with my relationship with my dad. I love him dearly, but sometimes we just butt heads. And since becoming a trainer, I think, my relationship with him is, I have more compassion for him. I understand him. My heart has opened more to where he's coming from as a father. You know, as a daughter, before this training actually, I just thought of him as my dad, and he should know how to treat his daughter, but he actually didn't. He didn't have a parent. He had no parents. He was orphaned at a very young age. I expected him to be a certain way, and after this training, I realized how much my dad actually tried to be a parent. He was just doing the best he could. So I healed a lot with my dad, and then with my brothers too. You know, we just have a different kind of relationship now. We respect each other, and it feels good. There's less resistance.
Have you noticed any changes in your physical health?
Well, Paula could speak to that.
I can, yeah. I talk about it in the book. I had a really amazing shift and miracle. I had a very bad back due to an old skiing injury. And I had to give up the work I did at that. This was, maybe about 14 years ago. I was a massage therapist, and one day I just woke up and it was the beginning of the end of my back functioning as I knew it. So I went at least 10 years spending thousands of dollars to try and heal my back problems. And I started to go to Oneness circles. I participated in Oneness activities. And one day I got connected with a chiropractor who gave me one simple exercise that completely changed
Just a simple exercise.
a simple exercise. And I'm still doing it. And so many of the problems I used to have they just went away.
Now you mentioned a Oneness circle. Savita, you facilitate a Oneness blessing circle in Glenview. Can you say what goes on in there and how many people attend and how long it is?
It's a wonderful Thursday night event that happens every Thursday nights from 7:30 to 9 at Inner Balance. No, not Inner, at Be Optimal in Glenview. Be Optimal Holistic Center. And we come together. It's open to anyone and everyone.
So you don't have to have any previous training to it?
No, you don't have to have any previous training. It's by donation.
Mm-hmm.
And we sit in a circle, and we share where we're at in the moment, what we're experiencing, what challenges we may have had during the week, and what intentions we're bringing to the circle for the evening. And we do a little meditation. I guide people in so they can be just quiet the chatter. And sometimes we do chanting.
And when you say guide people in, how long is your guided meditation?
The guided meditations are about 15 minutes max, and then the rest of the evening is dedicated to the hands-on Diksha. And I'm not the only Diksha giver. Paula is a Diksha giver, and there's usually about 4 or 5 Diksha givers there, and there could be 10 to 15 people in a circle. And so all the Diksha givers actually give blessings. And a Diksha, it only needs to be 30 seconds or so. As you saw when I gave you a blessing, you felt it immediately.
Yes, I did.
So it's not a long time that you have to...
But you get repeated ones.
Yeah, you can get repeated ones. Yeah. But it's only, it's just a very light touch over the head. And so each blessing giver actually goes around the circle to give the blessings. And it's very peaceful for the people that are receiving it. And for the blessing givers, to give a blessing is getting a blessing.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you have people coming with cancer and other severe diseases?
Mostly in my circle, it's mostly just stress. It's people that are living too fast and working too many hours. And there's a lot of people that struggle with finances that show up, and there are some people in the circle that actually have had really great blessings, financial blessings, and, so, yeah.
I did a Diksha circle for a while. I'm not doing it currently for people with cancer. Mm-hmm. We did meditation and Diksha.
I think it would be very
really
effective.
Powerful. Yeah, mm-hmm. I'd like to get that going again. Thanks for the inspiration and reminder.
Well, there's a lot of research, medical research, showing these complementary methods like massage and Reiki and prayer, is very effective.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, how does Oneness Awakening help people overcome addictions and bad habits?
Okay,
well,
I'll speak to that. There's a couple different ways. One thing that contributes to addictions, and we are an addictive society, is the need to escape pain. And there's a lot of pain and a lot of stress in the world, and we have all come to believe that you're not supposed to feel, you don't want to feel it. You'd rather do anything else than feel your feelings, especially the uncomfortable ones. So you could use alcohol to numb yourself. You could use TV, food, exercise or work. These are, there's so many ways, shopping. So when people get repeated diksha, it actually is working on a neurobiological level to create more gaps in the firing of your neurons, I think you'd call them. So in that little gap time, you have increased self-awareness, and you actually can witness yourself compulsively returning to habits or addictions, and you have time to make a new choice. So we have noticed in oneness circles, people begin to just give up addictions. We've seen people give up cigarette smoking and lose weight and just change in so many ways like that.
In oneness, we call it shifting to higher states of consciousness. So addictions actually fall into the lower states where things are compulsive and repetitive and destructive. And when the more you receive the diksha, the more awakened you become, you move into higher states of consciousness, which are creative and abundant and constructive.
Well, I think the shift of focus would be away from oneself and to the oneness of the world. Isn't that what the AA, the 12-step program, is about?
Yeah.
The higher power.
It's funny you'd say that, because one of the trainers I interviewed is an addiction specialist who's also had his own experience of alcoholism and drug use for years. He went to AA, and in the book I describe, or I quote from him, his attributing the grace that they talk about in AA and in 12-step circles to actually a measurable change in your brain, in this gap that becomes bigger by receiving repeated diksha.
Well, I believe it because I've seen Dr. Amon's brain scans, and he calls his book Change Your Brain, Change Your Life.
Yeah.
For a reason, because, the brain does get changed and lives get changed.
And the one thing that Paula had mentioned before is that in the oneness blessing, it's an accelerated path.
Right.
So it happens quicker than most.
It's a shortcut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've got under 2 minutes. Now, do you practice daily some of the oneness awakening techniques or rituals?
I do, and so does Paul. We actually receive and give blessings to ourselves, to others, to the world.
And typically, can you say how much time you put in with your daily rituals and practice?
Well, I have a meditation practice in the morning, and I know Paula does too. So it could be 30 minutes or 5 minutes or an hour,
Or, really doesn't have to be long.
And it doesn't even have to be that. Whatever someone is desiring.
Well, would you recommend more than once a day?
I would recommend as many times a day as you can.
I like to do it twice a day.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, we got 1 minute. Who wants to say?
ahead,
Who wants
Paul.
to take the last
I
30
just
seconds?
really encourage people to consider getting Diksha training so you could give this gift to others, to your family, to people who are sick or struggling. It's just a very big blessing to be able to pass this on to others.
And if you take your 2-day course, are there more advanced courses and more advanced courses?
There's
it's
lots
an
of different.
option.
There's a lot of different courses. This is the course we teach.
All right, got to wrap it up. For more information about Oneness Awakening, our guests, Paula and Savita, Infinity Foundation, or Quest Talk Show, stay tuned to the credits at the end. Till next time, wish you good health, good spirits, and good fortune.
Namaste.
For more information about this show, our guest, Infinity Foundation, or any of our other programs, please visit our website, infinityfoundation.org, or call us at 847-831